New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Why, hello, it's me. Yes, me, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. A little about me is that I am a grief coach, a registered nurse, and a religious science practitioner, and a licensed soul collage facilitator. And my favorite thing of being is just a human being right here on the planet with you. So welcome. If this is your first time joining us, I want you to know that you have come to the right place to start this journey of healing through your grief. And if you're returning, oh my gosh, I am so glad to have you back and so honored that you continue to watch and participate in this program. And what I want you to do is make this next hour about you. Yes, make it about you. Drop a comment in the comment box or ask a question, but be a part of the dialogue. It would just be, so inspiring to know that there are questions, that you're listening, and there's things that are coming up for you. And what I always start my program with is explaining what grief is. And just knowing that grief is caused by loss. And loss is anything that you encounter, expected or unexpected, that changes your life in a way that you cannot go back to the way it was before. Yes, death is, I say, the mother of all losses. That is the biggest and most impactful in our lives. So knowing that death is one of the biggest losses that you'll encounter in your life, but we still have other losses, such as aging, that loss of youth, divorce, relationships that just break down, a job that was lost or fired, a geographical move, moving away from your normal and usual environment. That's a loss as well. Graduation, a promotion, puberty, childbirth, a loss of that independent life, and now a caregiver for a beautiful spirit on the planet. So those are losses, and it's losses that put us into grief. And grief is just normal, natural emotions that come from that loss. And of course, it's sadness, depression, anger, confusion, numbness, sometimes even joy. So those emotions are caused by the loss. And those emotions are then given the name of grief. And I want to say that it's time. My mission here is to bring grief out of the closet, bring it right smack dab into the middle of our lives. Grief has a superpower. Grief's superpower is healing. It's through this grief that we heal. and get to the other side that so many people want. They want to get to the other side. It's like, oh, I can't wait to get through this or to get over this. And there's no getting over grief. There is that examination of that grief, that is that part of living through the grief, leaning into the difficult emotions that come with grief. And I would be remiss if I let you believe that, oh, yes, just talk about grief and you'll be on your way. It's like, no, those emotions have to be experienced to be able to move through. The only way over grief is right through the middle of grief. And there's 3 pillars that I always speak of for grief. That grief needs to be validated. Grief needs to be heard. And grief needs to be shared. There's a bell hooks quote that I just love, and she says, "We can't heal in isolation. This is a time that we need each other when we're going through grief." So I want you to know that. I want you to be able, I want to make it so that grief is a common topic that we bring up, that we share, that we talk about with our friends, that we comfort each other during grief. And as I said, it is painful. But if you can feel it, you can heal it. You can't heal what you don't feel. And grief has that grief's superpower is healing. That is grief's superpower. It's healing. So I just say that to set the stage, to set the tone for the next hour of discussing grief. That's why we're discussing it, so that we can heal, that we can heal ourselves and help each other heal. And today's theme is good grief. And we can say that in a couple of ways, like good grief or grief, good grief. Taking it from that standpoint, that grief is good. And so I have a beautiful guest today, a very, very special guest that has said yes to come on and share his insights on grief. And as I said, what's so good about grief? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. So I just want to take this time to read Reverend Jim's bio so you'll know a little bit about him before he comes on. And Reverend Jim Lee is an inspirational international speaker and teacher who is passionate about the power of truth teachings to transform the planet. Prior to entering the ministry, Jim was a successful national marketing representative with IBM. His mission for transforming lives began in 1986 with his position as executive director of Youth at Risk, where he served the needs of inner city youth in Washington, D.C. He's already special to my heart. Washington, D.C. is where I came of age. And in Washington, D.C. He was inspired to pursue ministry. So therefore, he completed Unity School of Religious Studies in 1994 and subsequently served on the Board of Trustees for Unity Worldwide Ministries, including the role of chair. He is a former Leadership Council member of Association of Global New Thought and the former lead organizer for the Compassionate Cities of Southwest Michigan. Jim is currently Minister Emeritus of Unity in Las Vegas. So, I just want to welcome Reverend Jim to the show right now. And I just want to thank him right now for his yes. to being with us today. So, Reverend Jim, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, as I said, for your yes. And just tell us a little bit about Reverend Jim.
Okay, well, thank you. First of
Yes.
all, thank you for inviting me on the program.
Oh,
So, yeah, you read a little bit about my bio and what some people may not know that wasn't really included in that is that I've had several churches in my time, and now I'm retired as
oh,
of April the 9th.
okay. Congratulations on
After
the
my
next
30,
phase.
yes, it is the next phase. For a while, have you heard of Marianne Williamson?
Oh, let me think. Let me think. Maybe she ran for president or something.
Well,
Okay.
in the Detroit area, she was a spiritual leader of a very large church, and she brought me in to
Oh,
be her associate minister. And so I ran the ministry, and what I got involved in at that point in time was in-depth in Course in Miracles, but also,
I
well,
see.
yeah, her compassion for people and whatnot. So she's been one of my teachers in the past.
Yes. Oh, well, you had good foundation. You had a good, strong foundation laid for you then, Reverend Jim. Yes, yes. And uh, when I invited you on and you said yes right away, and knowing that we're discussing grief, and you shared that you've had your own up close and personal experiences with a really, as I said in the intro, is death, which is definitely the big mother of grief. So you share a little bit around your experience with grief.
Sure. Um, so my daughter died, who was 46, and she died in 2011. So
Mhm.
how it came about, she had encountered drugs and later on in life. She was 30 years old, and she got caught up in the drugs for about 5 or 6 years, and she was in and out of treatment. And then finally, she kicked it, and we all celebrated. And
Yes.
then 3 years after she kicked the drugs, she came down with breast cancer.
Oh,
And she did everything she could, and it looked like it went into remission.
yes, yes.
And it was really celebratory, but then it came back with a vengeance.
Vengeance, yes.
And so I invited her to Michigan, where I was the minister, like I said at the time, where Marianne was. And I did everything. We went on all of the holistic protocols,
Mhm.
holistic doctors, switched her diet. And then the church had about 3,000 people and
Wow.
had the whole church praying for her. And she kept on going downhill and downhill.
Mm-hmm.
I was really distraught.
Yeah.
And to tell the truth, I was really a little bit angry with God. Well,
Oh.
let me back up. I was very.
Mm-hmm.
I said,
That's yes, yes,
I
yes.
said, what's up with this, man? I'm your boy down here, doing everything I can to be of service to you.
Yes. You're
And I
supposed to have my back. You're supposed to have my back. Yeah.
and I really felt that God had abandoned me
Mm,
because he wasn't responding to everything. And then I said, God, this is really unnatural for my daughter to pass before me. I said,
mm,
this doesn't look right and it doesn't feel right.
yes.
So as I was fuming at God night after night, and then one night I decided okay, Jim, this isn't good. Why don't you shut up, listen, and open your heart to the divine?
Mm.
Whew.
Yes.
That was,
Mm.
I would call it a turning point. I
Yes.
opened up my ears and I said, okay, I'm gonna stop fussing. Use me. And I
Mm.
heard the inspiration come through and it says, you're doing the wrong thing. You think you're supposed to save her. Your job is to be there to support her in the transition. You're the one that's going to carry her over to the other side.
Mm. Mm.
I didn't want to hear that.
Yes, it's like I didn't sign up for that. That's not what I signed up for.
By
Yes.
no means. And so I got it. And then I switched everything, and my whole job became comforting her, being with her, reassuring her that on the other side of whatever that was, that I don't know what's on the other side. I just know who's on the other side.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
And
Yes.
with that, you're going to be okay. I
Mm.
haven't been there. I just know who's there. And we were
Yes.
able to spend her last days in a way in which I was able to comfort her and support her. And that was my job.
Right.
I didn't like it, but then I started to see what my true role was.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was significant grief and loss.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I can feel that. I can feel that. Just, yeah, just take a breath. Take a
She was
breath.
my friend. She was my friend, and
Yes.
she believed in me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so interesting. Tears still come up. It's been 2011,
Mm-hmm.
but I just take that. That's part of the process
Yes.
because grief is another form of love.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
And I feel the grief because I truly love her. If I didn't love her, I wouldn't feel the grief.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. What was your daughter's name? Or what is
Tracy,
her name? Tracy?
yes.
Tracy. Yes. 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 And with that, I am so glad that first of all, just honoring you for being able to retell the story, because in the telling, we still live those emotions that were there. They don't go away. And
Nope.
yeah, that's what I said in the opening, that you never get over grief, you move forward grief. You just move.
No question.
And I just want to say thank you for talking about the anger aspect and the anger with God.
Yes. I'm a minister and I'm not supposed to get angry with God, but
Right. Wait. If it's God, God can take it. God can take a little bit of anger, right? God can take our rage if that's how you want to hold that. But I was going to say, so do you, feeling the anger, but not addressing it as to where you want to direct it to. Do you think once you were able to say, I'm angry with you, God, did that shift things? Or,
when I was angry with God, that pretty much boxed me in to a certain frame of reference, and I wasn't able to see the bigger picture that was unfolding because it was like a box. And but I needed to go through that
mm-hmm,
in order to get through the other side. There was no sugarcoating it. I was raw and real. And so I
right,
was letting my feelings all out. And I mean, I've really to God. Just was totally upset. And also, when I got tired of that,
Mm-hmm.
it was able to, I was able to go through that anger that allowed me then to be open to what was next. And I was willing, there was a line in the Course in Miracles that I really like, and it says simply this: are you willing to see things differently?
It all
And
depends on the day, huh?
yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
No
Yeah.
question, I got it. And so I said, I am willing to see this differently, even though there's nothing to see differently. She's dying, but I was willing to see things differently. And
Mm,
by me stepping in and through it, I then was opened up to another way of looking at it.
mhm,
It was purely, it was grief. Clearly, it was loss. But also, when I got an opportunity to see, I'm in an honored position to one, to have known her, to have
mm,
celebrated with her, to
mm,
have gone through the ups and downs of life with her. And
yeah.
then when I got through that, I was able to say, I'm honored to be a part of this process.
Mm,
So it totally changed because of my willingness to see it differently.
mm. That is beautifully said. Um, I wanted to go back a little bit too to say, I'm sure you've heard of the 5 stages of grief.
Yes.
There's the denial, there's the anger, and then there's bargaining, and then
Yes,
there's
all of
depression and acceptance. And did you do any of the bargaining? Did you do any of the bargaining aspect of it?
that. Big time. I mean, I was just saying, what do you need? I mean, I'm bringing people into the church. I'm trying my level best. What can I do here? And then I really got to the point where the anger would always come back. It would float in and out. It was just like, and it didn't make any sense. And but when I finally got to the acceptance, I went through every one of those stages, but I see that every one of those stages was needed for me
Mm,
to get to that. I could not bypass any of those in order to get there.
right. And I do want the listeners to understand that it's not a linear process. One day
Right.
you wake up with, okay, I've accepted this. And then on Friday, it's like I'm angry again. And yes, yes. Yes, they just kind of come and go like waves, ebbs and flows of these different emotions. Um, I do want to ask you with Tracy, and who did you turn to for comfort? Who did you turn to in your hour of need? Um,
Yeah,
And
there
were you
was
able to turn to someone? Were you a Yes, what was your support system like, Reverend Jim? And do you feel that you need a support system?
definitely, definitely. There was a another minister at the church. She specialized in grief and counseling, and that was very, very helpful for me. And she was letting me know that all of the things that I'm feeling was typical and normal. And because I was starting to say, I started to beat myself up and say that's the last thing you need to do at this point in time is beat yourself up. And then I'm saying, well, maybe I'm not a good enough father because as
Mm,
a father, my job is to protect my daughter.
yes.
And I couldn't. So she really helped me with that. And then the other thing that really helped was prayer, and just and got to the point that you know, I had to surrender.
Mm,
I, I
mm,
had to, I had to let go of how I thought it should be.
mm.
And there is an expression: when you fight against what is, you're going to lose every time.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I decided not to fight. Finally, at the end, to surrender. And there is a biblical thing that I kind of like, and that is Jacob is wrestling with an angel, and he's wrestling with the angel all night, and then in the morning, the angel gets ready to leave. And Jacob reaches out to the angel. He says, "Oh no, baby, you can't go anywhere. With all this pain and suffering that you carried me through, there's a blessing in here somewhere. Give me my blessing." And
Mm,
so, with all the pain that there is always another side. There is a blessing in it. And I was able to see, to become a blessing. But also, I wanted to speak to about after she died, and still now I get
oh,
swelled up
yes.
with it, and that's normal, and that's okay.
Yes,
It's,
that is
it's,
normal.
it's
Yes.
2011, and I'm still
Doesn't
doing
matter. Doesn't matter, Reverend Jim. Time is just an illusion. It's an illusion. Your heart is with Tracy. You guys,
exactly.
that love never dies. Love never dies, and our true essence is love. Our true essence is love, and that does not die. Um, you were just talking about when you fight, you're going to lose. I like that one about suffering is when we don't accept what is. That
Right.
that's what causes the suffering. Because I
Absolutely.
don't want this. I don't want this. I want my baby with me forever. What do you mean my baby has to go? And as you said, once you were in that acceptance of yes, this is it. Yes, my baby's not getting better. That you were able to
Move through
be with
it.
her in a different way. It's really a deepening of that relationship happened when you accept what
We
was
got closer toward the end. And then on the other side, after she made her transition,
there.
I still was feeling the permanent loss, and the grief was there. And I started taking a look and started reading up on it. And because I wanted to push it away, I thought it would go away. But there is an expression: what you resist persist.
Yes, I know that.
So I,
Yes.
so I was trying to resist the grief, and then I just said, okay, let me embrace it. Let me bring it closer to me. And I come to find out that it's normal to bring it in. It's not normal to push it away. It wasn't designed to be pushed away. It was designed to be brought in and incorporated. So what I started to do was feel the grief, and I took Tracy out of the picture and just felt the grief without an interpretation of it,
Mm,
but just felt it. And the more I could just feel the grief without the story, without the drama, without all of my interpretations of it, but just to be with it, it transformed itself
mm,
into a healing balm within my soul. Grief turned out to be something good for me
Ah,
by letting it in as a healing that is still with me today.
mm, that beautifully said, Reverend Jim. Just beautifully, beautifully said, and so affirms when I talk about grief is transformative. Grief is it's like that chrysalis of that butterfly, that I call it a holy chrysalis, that there's a lot of muck and ugliness going on, and just things are churning, but there's a beautiful butterfly that emerges. And most people want the butterfly aspect right away. They don't want to
Right.
be in the chrysalis, and you got to have the chrysalis to get the butterfly. But there's a couple points that I really want to bring up, and I'll try to do them one at a time.
Okay.
I want to ask you this. You have a really strong spiritual practice. What do you advocate for someone who's going through this that does not have a spiritual practice?
Yeah. And oh God, that's a good one, because it is because of my spiritual practice and because of my belief that carried me through. And if someone does not have a spiritual practice, doesn't believe in a divine, and I don't care what name you call it.
Yes, what you call it. Yeah, that's not even the issue.
Then it makes it challenging, and it makes it even more challenging. Give you another example. At my church in Detroit, there was a family that had 3 children, and she had 2 boys, 1 girl. The girl was the baby. The oldest boy, who was 16, died in a car accident. 2 years later, the younger boy, who was 13, died of leukemia.
Oh,
And the mother said, wait a minute, God, there's one thing you took one from me. You took 2. Now, I tried to comfort her, and there was no comforting the mother. She was too through. And I said,
she was too through. I love that expression. I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
I tried to let her know. I said, there is a divine. She talked to the hand. Where my boys? Where my babies? To my babies, where are they? And what we were finally able to get through, and it took a while, was this realization that those babies really are hers temporarily. They're not yours permanently. There's something else that's going on. And once again, I explained to her, are you willing to see things differently? Now,
same question. Yeah.
yeah. Now, the thing of it is, I have no answer. I have no crystal ball as to why this occurred, what was going on, this happening to you. The only thing that I can say, because she did not want to hear about God. That's the reason why I'm bringing it up, because she was a religious person, but she didn't want to hear about God, and I can understand that. The point that we really came to was who you are and what happened. You were a gift to those boys by bringing them into the earth, and they were a gift to you. My thing is, can you shift and look at the blessing and the good time versus this tragedy that occur. And it's still going to be there, but think of the sweetness of those boys and let that fill your heart more than anything else.
Right, right. Wow. That thank you for that. Thank you for that. Just allowing that shift to happen. And Reverend Jim, do you feel I'm trying to phrase this in a way that it's understandable. That you can, yes, you can't make anyone feel better. You can't make someone feel better. That they are on their journey, that it is their grief journey. It's like on the road. They have to experience what they need to experience to move through and come to their own realization. And I say, as a grief coach, that I am holding the light so that you can see the path.
Yes.
So that you can find what's good, what's difficult, so that you can move through. But I want people to understand, because so many times, Reverend Jim, people say, oh, I didn't go talk to them because I didn't know what to say. Oh, I didn't go see them. Oh, I saw them, but I didn't know what to say, so I avoided them. And what I want people to realize, too, is that just our presence alone can be just what that person needs. Even if it's like talk to the hand. Maybe they needed someone to see the hand. Maybe they just needed to have someone hear them say, I'm pissed with God. What do you mean? You know, one baby, then another baby, get out of here. That your presence, that being, we are definitely social creatures. And as Bell Hooks says, you know, we can't heal in isolation. So the thing that I offer people as well is to just sit with them, even if you don't say anything, just sitting with someone, letting them express whatever it is.
You remind me of my second year in ministry. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and things are going on in my little church, and I just loved it. And I did this christening of one of the congregants' baby, and I just love that was my favorite thing to do.
Yes, baby.
Well, about 4 months later, that baby died in a drive-by shooting. Now, I was good because I'm performing the service, right? I'm new in the ministry and whatnot. They bring in this little casket. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm up there. I'm supposed to be the minister presiding over it, and tears.
Yes.
And I'm saying, oh, I'm sorry. But that's what they needed.
Yes. That's exactly what was needed.
And I apologized, but they said, no, we feel. And that's what they needed. And sometimes you're absolutely right. Words, okay, but if they can just feel your compassion, that can help somebody who is.
Yes, there is a in Senegal, I forgot the tribe in Senegal, but if somebody has a death or a loss, they don't say, oh, you know, Reverend Jim is grieving. They say grief has found us, because it is definitely a shared experience, and especially that. I mean, I'm even touched. I didn't even know this baby, but just to hear the story. So grief really is, I want to say, a communal sharing of emotions and spirit, and then we comfort each other. We comfort each other.
And you're right. You may not know how, but that's okay.
It's
and we may stumble with the words, but the presence is, you're absolutely right. So much.
Yeah. Grief is messy. Grief is painful. It just is. Talk about accepting what it is. Accepting that grief is just painful. But the resilience of the human spirit to move forward, to move forward.
Now, one of the things that I have encountered with some people that they are so stuck in it that it becomes part of their identity. And when they don't move, then grief can't be good. It's no longer good grief. It becomes an albatross
Mm-hmm.
around the neck. And it's like they're carrying it around. And I call that really suffering. That's beyond
Right.
grief, that's suffering.
And,
So yeah, go ahead.
oh no, that's when I say if grief has put you in that state of feeling debilitated, you can't move, you can't go forward. That's when you really need to seek some professional help to really unpack that bag that you're carrying. And that's what it's for. And don't be ashamed to say, I'm just stuck. I can't move forward.
And one of the things that you were talking about earlier before we got on the phone, and it just popped, got on this call, and it just popped in my head, was men and women grieve a little differently.
Yes.
We as men, sometimes we were trained, conditioned, and domesticated to stuff it, suppress it,
Exactly.
don't show it. And if you do, that's not good. That's how I was raised. I don't think that the younger generation really has that as much as the older generation do. But
And
that is the most unhealthiest thing that you can do is to stuff it, try to ignore it, or bypass it. That's a prescription for disaster.
right. Yes, and I did want to address that. Now we were talking a little bit about that yesterday before we were disconnected and whatever happened. And I guess it happened so that we can discuss it now, because I was a little hesitant about saying, men and women grieve differently, because, we're now in this era of the binary and being all one. But I, from my experience, I'll put it that way, know that men and women grieve differently. And what I was going to opt, because we as women are socialized in this way to share our emotions, to talk everybody's head off. Where men, they share, but their share is not usually about emotions. And I'll let you speak to that. What is the share with men? Do men support each other?
I would say we do the best we can. What the younger generation have really tapped into, and I really acknowledge them, they are in touch with their feelings.
Yes.
Sometimes you can stuff feelings so much that when grief comes along, it becomes part of what being stuffed, and you don't really get in touch with it. And there is in the older generation, there's a stigma against doing that, and that needs to be moved out of the way. That is a false interpretation of reality that has no place and no value. And men now really need to be in touch with their feelings, be open to them. And it's not a bad thing. Allow them to be expressed. And when I was, give an example, when I was younger, and I broke up with a girl broke up with me. My feelings, I was devastated. And my buddy says, I know exactly what you need. We need to go out and have a drink. So, so the grieving process was to go to a bar and have a drink.
Yes.
And look at another woman. That was
yes. But But I do know this though, Reverend Jim, and I know that, things are changing. Yes, and conversations like ours are helping make that shift. But what I find too that sometimes men don't have the vocabulary to
That's true.
express because it's been so suppressed for so long that they don't have the vocabulary to express what it is that they're feeling. And, it's part of my job as a grief coach to help give language to what you're feeling. And I just remember something, Tupac Shakur, you know the rapper? I know. He has great words of wisdom. But I remember watching a documentary, and he was saying that a woman can teach you how to be a person, how to be a person, but a woman can't teach you how to be a man, and that no one can comfort a man like another man. What's your feeling on that?
It's a both and. I
Oh,
have found that because what you just said is true, that women can have the vocabulary, the sensitivity, the warmth that can, I would say, allow a man to to bring down his guard and his walls in
mhm,
such a way that he can start to maybe feel something in a woman's touch and comforting words, and sometimes even her voice can
mm,
really support that. The other thing is sometimes as a man can really understand another man's angst
yes,
and
yes, yes.
really say, oh man, I know how you feel. Give you an example. A friend of mine just recently divorced. And because I've been through a divorce, and he was just saying, I feel abandoned, I feel betrayed,
Oh,
I said, I understand. I've
yes.
been there. Let me tell you what this is. Everything that you're feeling is natural. Don't beat yourself up.
Mm,
This
wow.
is a natural process, man to man. So I'm saying it is definitely a both and.
Wow. Wow. What insight. What insight, what wisdom. That is just that is just beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. I was going to say, and it reminds me of his name is Jim Summerlin, and he talks about the four friends to support your grief. The first friend is somebody who has been through the very same thing that you've been through, the very same type of loss that you've been through. The death of a child, which is just the most traumatic of all losses, is that of a child. We're supposed to outlive our children, not bury
Yes,
our children. That's
right.
not, yeah, that's not the way it was set up. So to have another friend that has gone through that. The second friend is somebody who treats you like nothing happened. Hey, come on, Jim, let's go check out a movie down the street, or let's go women watch or people watch or whatever. And the third friend is somebody who really listens, not listens to give you advice or tell you what to do, or advice tell you what to do, or make recommendations for your life or suggestions. They just listen. Grief, as I said, needs to be heard, shared, and validated. And then the fourth friend is the one that'll tell you the truth. Hey, Jim, I've been seeing too many wine bottles in the trash at your house lately. And last time you had a shower, man, things are kind of ripe over here. But you need that truth teller. So, and if you have that four friends and one friend, hats off to you. But if you don't, just think about that. Who can really listen to me? Who can really listen? And also, Reverend Jim, not everybody's able to hear your story. And it's really unfair to yourself and to them to share if they're not able to. I mean, it can cause more pain. So I just advise people, just be aware of that. to just
That's right. And one of the things too that I recommend to the men, a lot of times, not only do we not go to the doctor, but we really sometimes don't go to a therapist. We don't seek out professional help because sometimes we're men, we're supposed to do it in
that.
surgery. That, my brothers, move that thinking aside. That is obsolete, outdated material. Please seek professional help, somebody that can help you, guide you through in a way that you come out faster, quicker than you trying to do it on your own.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And one last question. I have just this whole list of questions that I've been that I've been writing. I just want to say about the loss, the loss of Tracy. And there's something called anticipatory grief. So many people say that that was even harder than after their loved one transitioned, anticipating their transition and being
Yeah.
aware. Yes.
Yeah, and I resemble that. That was that carried me through some dark nights of the soul because I was powerless.
Uh,
And so it was coming, it was coming, it was nothing I could do about it. I felt powerless, out of control. And that I would say it gave me more um, angst and uncertainty and doubt and all of that. You're right, leading up to it can
yes.
be.
Even more painful. And I just say that so that people know that if you're going through supporting a loved one who is transitioning, that is very difficult. And you need all the support. You need all the support that you can get during those times. And self-care is vital during these times. Vital, vital, vital. And even afterwards, because grieving is exhausting. Grieving is just exhausting. So self-care, taking care of yourself, talking about men and women grieving differently. Men need to move and just move it through your bodies and get out there, where women, we can share more, but sharing for both, sharing for all, sharing that grief. And one last thing I'm going to ask you, because we're almost at time, believe it or not, is I refer to ministers, spiritual people, chaplains. I refer to us as, when there's an accident and there's first responders that come out and swoop the person up and get them to the hospital. I call us spiritual rescuers. The spirit are the first responders, spiritual first responders. So with that, knowing that is who and what you are, how do you keep yourself in that position of being ready as a first responder, a spiritual first responder? What do you do?
There is an expression that we're 30 years ago still rings true. In ministerial school, they said, what we invite you to do is to stay prayed up.
I like that.
Just stay prayed up. Don't go without a day without praying, because you never know what'll happen. And at the time when it happens, you don't want to start praying for the first time. You want to be prayed up.
That's lovely. I was listening to a minister, and he was advising some new ministers, and he says, "Oh, you know how you get that brochure and they make Cancun look lovely, the beaches, and oh my gosh, little umbrella drinks, and then people sign up for ministerial school, right?" And then they get or become ministers and they go, oh, wait a minute. Where's that brochure of people lying on the beach? And they said, oh, that's just to get you into, to get you to sign up. The truth is anything could happen. And that's what you're saying. Be ready for anything, being ready for anything.
And the way to be ready is to be connected to the divine, whatever you call it, and be willing to let the divine move in and through you. And that's what we call staying prayed up. And with that, you can then address situations as they occur, because you never know what's going to occur.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, Reverend Jim, I could just keep you here for another hour. You should have brought another shirt and we'd just tape another show.
Thank you, dear. You're so kind.
You're just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful, and love your sharing and your courageousness. It takes courage to share such deep pain. It takes courage. And so thank you for being that light to say, yes, even with my pain, I want to share. I want to share. And we're sending love to Tracy today because I know she's right here with us. Never far from me. Yes. And one last thing, and I've got to do a little promo. But what would you advise someone that's going through what you've been through? Someone that has lost a child? Any words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
A couple of things. One is just what you said. Seek out, I would say, comforting, inspirational people around you to hold your hand as you go through it. And then this last thing that I don't have a belief in this. I don't have faith in this. I know this. And there's a difference. Love is the way. Love is the way. I don't believe this. I don't have faith in it. I know this. That's the way.
Love is the way. Thank you. Thank you. Reverend Jim, I'll have to have you back so that you can talk to us about how grief has transformed you. And I know we can't do that in a few minutes, but the next show we will talk about the transformative power of grief, how you've been transformed. And we'll leave that as a teaser to get folks to come back. And we don't have to tease them to come back. They're going to come back because they want to hear words of wisdom from Reverend Jim. Thank you. And if you hang around after the show, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, bless you.
Great. I just want to put in a plug for the Conference of Americas that's going to happen in Chapala, Mexico on August 1st through August 5th. The registration is open and the theme is sharing the light. So I'm hoping that Reverend Jim will be there because he's living right there in Chapala along with myself, and I'll be presenting a workshop at this conference. But there's so many speakers and workshop presenters. Go to conventionofamericas.com and you'll find more information, and hope to see you there. Thank you so much. This has been just an hour that's gone by way too fast with such a beautiful guest. And again, I say thank you. And I just want to offer, I am a grief coach, and you can find me at yourdoula.com. And what a beautiful day, what a beautiful guest. And don't forget, here's what I say to you that are in grief and grieving. I want you to go to the mirror today. And I want you to look in the mirror and look in your own eyes and say, what do I need today? What do I need today? And whatever the answer is, I want you to follow that. Because you are so worthy of having comfort in your life at this time. So do that. And until we meet next week, I just say be well and love to all. Love to all. Thank you. Namaste.